What is up, everybody? Happy wedNESday! It is another beautiful day for a NESmaker tutorial. Today we're going to look at how to make a very, very simple platform game using NESmaker. I mean, I can remember back when I was a kid getting Super Mario Brothers, and still looking back and playing the original Super Mario Brothers, it's an amazing feat. I mean, that game alone drove probably video games further than any other video game in history, to the point where Mario is still a mascot. The music for the original game is still recognizable even to people who don't play video games. It is synonymous with video games, and it was really the game that pushed video games back into the limelight, at least in America, after the video game crash. What we're going to do today is look at how to build a very simple platform game. And on that note, I want to read a small disclaimer. wedNESday tutorial series does not represent all that NESmaker is capable of. The tutorials found here are designed to teach basic concepts and best practices. And why am I saying that? Some people are getting the impression that when they watch these tutorials, yeah, but can NESmaker do this and whatever this thing is? Look, NESmaker can do anything that the NES hardware is capable of doing. It is a collection of assets and scripts that organizes them and fits it all together and assembles it for you. And so whatever the scripts are that are underneath, that's what NESmaker can do. And as time goes on, we're going to continue to refine the scripts, make new modules, which are collections of scripts. If you are watching this tutorial, this is really important. If you're watching this tutorial and you're saying to yourself, yeah, but it'd be so much cooler if it could do this. I wish it could. It probably can. NESmaker is just the front end. The code underneath is really sort of what does all the magic. And the thing is we are making very vanilla, very basic engines that are supposed to be modifiable. And granted, at this point, you might not know how to modify them. You might not want to get your feet sort of wet in assembly language yet, but don't worry, we're going to get to that part too. What we're doing right now is we're giving you just a couple of things to get you started, to get you familiar with the interface, to get you building some things, having some fun, and then eventually see it on real hardware. That said, before we get started in today's tutorial and making our platform game, let's take a look at what some of the users were able to do in just a couple of days from the tutorial that posted last week. So let's check in with Austin real quick.
So I'm super excited to check out some of the games you guys have been putting together. They look amazing. Let's play them. All right, from Austin Jackson, we got, looks like the start of a Spy Hunter kind of thing. Yo, dude, I got what you need. Take it. The moving trash cans, that's fantastic. See, I thought those looked like trash cans, but I wasn't going to say anything. Oh yeah, look at these speed buggies. Oh, these mice are dynamite. Come here. Oh, that's cool. I'm guessing that's the power-up. Yeah, okay, so that's Cash, right? Joe Rossi. Oh wow, that's a really top-down perspective. Very cool. We got ninjas throwing stars. Always something that I run into. I love the sword swinging animation. That's great. Explore this world a little more. Go down this alley. That's very evocative. I really like that narrow alley and the shadow that's happening in the buildings here. That's gorgeous. There's a lot of great color going on here. A lot of really good use of the limited palette. From Joe Sherman, we have Turtle Rescue. I love watching this game develop. Another person to talk to. Tater. Another solid top-down perspective. I like what's happening with the trees here. Crabs look like a problem. We'll avoid those. I'm guessing the turtles don't have much in the way of attacks to be given for ninjutsu expertise, despite what we've been led to believe. He has a... Oh, I like the way that extends. That's great. It is gratifying to be able to fight monsters that previously you had to just avoid. Throwing apples at me. Can I hit him? Oh yeah. And make him go away. That's great. And that's Turtle Rescue. I feel like I've accomplished something. Trial by fire! I love the palette. Yep, very warm. It's great. So hitting that, and now I can shoot these guys. Ah, nice. Projectile is really fast and satisfying. That's cool. So this is obviously a work in progress sort of thing, but I love this temporary sprite. I love the fact that you can wireframe a thing like this together and start playing it and see if it's fun. See how they play before you spend a lot of time creating assets, you know. From Peter Paltridge comes, oh yes, this Game Boy looking one. I love the limited color palette here. Really lean into it. He's like, I'm not going to complain that the NES only has a few colors. I'm going to make it look like it has even fewer colors. The crappy demo. I love it. There's no reason this has to be crappy. This is fun. Oh, I like the rolling ball. That's fun. That's right. Narratively repurpose mechanical limitations. Fantastic. I can now only talk to people by walking through them. Nice. It's the press start game. Oh, we got some cutscenes. Very nice. So this is interesting. You know, this was a beta game, which I loved. I loved the, you knew exactly what was going on and what to do without any kind of narrative underpinning whatsoever. But now you're adding to the sort of evocative power. Oh, I only get that many shots, huh? All right. Oh, smart. Some ammunition. That's lovely. You definitely have figured out how to do some cool stuff here. Stephen Shepard. Oh, yes. Look at this little mouse. He definitely gives the impression of being... Is he more than 3 colors? Is he brown, pink, black? No, but wow, just from the strength of the design alone, you really give a strong impression of color. I love this picture frame. What a great detail. The speed, oh my god. Yeah, you're using the palettes to suggest light falling over different things. That just looks fantastic. What a colorful screen. Such great bushes too. I think it's so hard to do really solid looking naturalistic stuff. I love the shadows under the trees. Oh, mysterious cabin in the woods. So yeah, these are great, man. Cool stuff. Thanks for sharing.
If you are using a version that's different than 4.0.11, things may work a little bit differently. If you are using a game that was created in 4.0.6 or 4.0.0, you may have to update some of the script packages to work appropriately as well. So just keep that in mind, and we'll work on that. We'll try and have that on the forums, what needs to be updated and how as we go, and people start to run problems. So if you have problems, go to www.NESmakers.com and you'll probably find the answers that you're looking for. If you are using a version different than 4.0.11, you might have some differences in where things are, how they work, etc. But let's open it up and take a look at some things. So the first thing that you're going to notice is a new icon, which is so pretty. And if you actually have a project, you can actually tell it, like this is the adventure tutorial. It doesn't know what I want to open it with, but if I set this to be my default app, check this out. This is cool. So if I look for my 4.0.11, it really feels like a real program now. Now it actually recognizes it and it knows that it's a 4.0.11 NESmaker file, and it opened right there. So that's really cool. I think that's really cool anyway. I know it's a small thing, but I think it's really cool. So I actually am using a new my desktop instead of my laptop, which some people were saying that it was a little bit pixelated because I used a smaller screen with my laptop. So I'm using a full screen, and probably my webcam is actually much nicer, and probably my audio is better too. Anyway, we're gonna make a new project, and there's some new things that are gonna show up. I had you guys doing some things before you made a new project in the last tutorial set, but check this out now. I'm gonna go to File, New, and what's cool is it actually asks me a bunch of things. One, it actually asks me what tile sets that I want to use, just like before, and I'm going to create a new set, and I'm going to call this Platformula. This was the Facebook group's decision in the poll that this would be called Platformula. So I'm going to create a blank tile set called Platformula. And you'll notice I can actually choose a starting module now. Now, you guys won't have all these choices. You're going to have adventure module and you're going to have platform module. I'm going to choose platform module. Yours will be just platform module. This is me just working through iterations, and I'm going to hit OK. And what's really cool is it already did the step of importing the module and all the module codes. So in my project settings, if I look at scripts, this is all already set to my platform module. Now, some of the scripts didn't change in the platform module. You're going to see that some of these still say adventure game. Well, if you look at what it is, it's a null tile that was never used in this update. So, you might want to go through, and everything that says adventure game, you might want to point to the sort of analog that's in your platform game scripts if you really want to be safe. But if you have both of those in the same folder and they do the same thing, I mean, blank file is going to do the same thing whether it's in platform or it's in the adventure tutorial. So that's why those things didn't change, if you see that. The other big change in getting right up and started, you'll notice I didn't add audio yet, but if I go to test, export, and test, check it out. One of the trade-offs of this computer is it's a little bit slower to launch you'll notice I got no errors. Now, it did not, I'm still getting a gray screen and whatnot, but I didn't get any errors about the music. And this is why. This is a new interface. It's super cool. In Sounds, if I click on sound effects, I don't open it, I just click on sound effects, you'll see I've got a whole bunch of sound effect constants right here. We've got a bunch of labels right here. And right now they're set to empty, which is the only sound effects that loads by default. When I go ahead and I load music, these are labels that this module needed. I went ahead and created, okay, this module needs player jump. This module needs a checkpoint. This module needs, and inside the script somewhere, it calls SFX player jump. It calls these labels. What's cool is I'm going to be able to set those sound effects. So if I want to set my jump to a certain sound effect, and I've loaded sound effects, now I can set it to jump, and it will then play that specific sound effect when I jump, whatever's associated with this label right here, because the script is calling the label, and then you're telling the label, okay, which one are you talking about? Which one does that label mean? So this is a really cool way, and also it prevents that whole you need to load music at the beginning before you even get started. Now you don't. You can launch right in, and as long as your scripts are calling these labels instead of direct sound effects, you'll be all set. As you create your own modules and things and you start adding sound effect labels to this, that's totally cool. And when you go to export project module, that's where you'll be able to, it'll save all that data. So then when you import it again, it'll import with that data. We'll look at that when we get to more advanced stuff. Right now, we're just doing some very simple, very basic, here's how the tool works stuff. So yeah, let's get started. I mean, enough talking, right? I'm sorry. I'm droning on and on and on. I'm going to show you some basics, and then I'm going to jump ahead because I'm assuming that you guys kind of know a little bit. I would advise going through the adventure game tutorial first before you go through this one, as there's some skills that I might gloss over here, assuming that you already know. Let's make a player. All right. So what I'm going to do is this is my objects, and I can look at, these are his palettes. So I'm going to actually make one of these a player palette, and you'll see that Monster Palette 0 has now changed name to player palette. I don't want this to be the player palette. I want this to be a different palette. I'm going to call this one Game Object Palette, and I'm going to rename it. So now you can see these are actually two different palettes, and you can see them. They're both choices that I have. So I don't know what colors I'm going to want to make the player yet, but I just wanted to set up some sub palettes. If I go to the pixel editor, I can start bringing in graphics. All right, and I'm going to change from my background palettes to my monster palettes, my game object palettes, and I'm going to load up those two palettes, my player palette and my game object palette. Now I've made it pretty easy for you guys. I'm going to load in. If I go to Formula, Beta Assets, Graphics, you're going to see a Platformula tiles. tile sets. And I'm going to start with my player, which is the game object tiles right here. These are all the tiles that I use. If you want a shortcut, you could just drop all these files right into your graphic assets folder for this project, the subfolder for Platformula or whatever you called your platform game. I'm going to bring them in just so it's easy for you to remember how to do this in case this is your first tutorial that you're seeing. I'm going to open up my game object tiles. And here he is. This is my little bunny character. Now, for those of you who didn't see the video before, how the NES works is it works with CHR files, which are basically every pixel is one of 4 values. And this was really hard to translate into something visual. So what we did was we work with bitmaps, when we're dealing in Photoshop or Paint or GIMP or anything else. And we wanted to get those into CHR files. So the way that we would do it, we used to reduce them into black, red, green, blue files. And strict black, strict red, strict green, strict blue was translated by the code into those 4 values, 0, 1, 2, and 3. We made a system where if the tool reads that and you enable palette translation, it'll read it through whatever you have over here. So these are the colors that that those values end up translating to if you have these palettes loaded in the game. So I'm just going to color this guy. This is a little bunny character. Let's see, a little bit darker than that, and then dark blue skin. There you go. So this is the sort of bunny character or a mouse. I'm not 100% sure. Some small woodland creature. And then I've got his little carrot here. So this is a game object that I'm going to use, and this is kind of a fireball. So for the carrot, I can see his first color. If I go to this, his first color, this should be like the orangish color. So maybe this one. And then the red would be like a green, like that maybe. And then I'm going to make this, that's like my shadow color. That's my outline color I'm going to use. So cool. I'm going to make a player that looks like that. I'm going to make, prizes that look like this. And this is an explosion right here. These are effects. So cool. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to, save as, and where I'm going to put that is it should automatically, if you want to save as, it should automatically put it, open it in Platformula or whatever you called this folder. And this was my game objects graphics, right? These are my game object graphics. So I'm going to save it over the top of game object tiles. Yes. Okay. So now these are my new game object tiles. And if I go back to player, I can see that those tiles, it takes a second sometimes to catch up, or you have to put your mouse over it and then it'll catch up, but there he is. And I can see what that looks like, and my carrot, awesome. So that's exactly what I was going for. Great. So now that I've got something, I'm going to save it. I'm going to file, save as, and I'm just going to navigate to projects, and I'm going to call this Platformula. Save it. Awesome. Name it whatever you want. I'm keeping it consistent with my folder in the graphic assets. All right. So now we're going to build some animations for the character. If this is your first tutorial, I'm going to make him I need to make a standing, a walking, and a jumping. And death we're going to handle slightly differently. So I'm going to manage animations. And my first animation, I'm going to rename to stand right. And I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to add stand left. Rename that one. I'm going to add run right. I'm going to add run left. Okay. And I'm going to add jump right and jump left. Now, if you notice, what you have is you really have 3 types of animation here. You've got standing, running, and jumping. This is literally all the animations because you need one for the multiple directions. But really, there's just 3 types. There's 6 animations, but there's really 3 types: running, standing, and jumping. And where we're going to determine that is if I go to object details, I need to know my animation types. So I'm going to rename the first one standing. And basically, I'm going to put standing right in the right and standing left in the left. I'm going to add running, and I'm going to put running right in the right and running left in the left. Oops, sorry. Not paying attention to what I'm doing. That I'm still in standing. I'm going to go running. And in running, I'm going to say run right and run left. And then jumping. Oops, sorry. And in jumping, I'm going to jump right and jump left. And some people were a little bit confused as to the relationship there, so I wanted to do it in that order. So basically what you're seeing is, here's literally all the animations, all the frame-by-frame animations that you have. And then these are the animation, and then these are the animation types, and they consist of 8 potential directions of those animations. One thing that's important, that's not really a bug, but something that I keep going back and forth on changing or not changing. There's some reasons why you would want it this way, and there's some reasons why I can see why it would be a problem this way. Every animation within a type should have the same number of frames. So if you make a standing left that has 4 frames, make sure that your standing right has 4 frames. If you have a running right 4 frames, make sure your running left has 4 frames, etc., etc. Really easy for us. We're going to make a 1 frame character here. So he's 2. This is for standing right. He's 2 by 2. I'm going to drop him in. Awesome. And I'm going to copy that frame. I'm going to standing left. I can paste it and flip it. And now I've got his standing frames all set. For running, he's going to do these. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back and forth. And then I'm going to copy that over. And then for jumping, he's going to use this for one way and then flipped going the other way. If you need to add frames, this lets you know how many frames you have. This will show you which frame you're on. I'm going to let you guys do that. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'll show you real quick. If I was doing running, I would say, 2 frames, and then this is frame 1. This is frame 2, and I could actually, if I have that open, I can actually go back and forth between them and see the animation. So like if I change this to this, I could see that. So if you have a 4-frame animation, it'd be this, and then you can see you've got 4 frames, etc., etc. We went over this pretty heavily in the last tutorial set, so I'm kind of going to skip it, and instead I'm going to say this loud because a lot of people didn't hear me last time. You are not going to have the folder that I'm about to open. You're going to have to do this all manually following my lead. Because you might not be using my graphics. So this is just a waste of time for me to show you how to make this character. I'm going to import a game object into here, and I've made this folder called monsters. You are not going to have this folder. It's not going to be there. Can't say it enough. I'm going to import player monster. And what I just did was I imported all the stuff about this object right here. If I hit save, he shows up over here in my game objects. I don't have to. It's still recording all the information for the game object, but I just like seeing him over here. So I'm going to look at his object details, and we're going to talk about how to set things. You can see I actually named him a little bit different here. I named, instead of stand, run, and jump, I named him idle, walk, and jump. But same thing, If I look at my walk animation, you can see I've got a 4-frame walk cycle right there. All right, so let's take a look at object details, and let's figure out exactly how to set this up. Walking and jumping, we already did that. Okay, details. I want this game to sort of work like Super Mario Brothers, where you get hit and you die. It's not, you don't have health. You can choose to give yourself health or not. I haven't tested this exact module with health. It should work fine, 100%. However, keep in mind that every time you do something that deviates from the tutorial, it's very much encouraged for experimentation. But it may work unexpectedly. It might have some effects that you don't expect. So just keep that in mind. I encourage you to play with things as you want to, but that's the trade-off. So for a player, make sure that he's persistent and set to player. This has to do with collision. So this type of collision knows how to collide with other things. Again, the player is the only object that you are going to make persistent ever. These other objects you don't want to make persistent. Persistent just means that when you go from screen to screen, this monster will stay on the screen. You want the monsters and all the other objects to reload when you get to a new screen, but you want the player to carry over to that screen, and that's why he's persistent. Max speed and acceleration speed. I actually set his acceleration speed a little bit lower than I'd recommend for a game like this, but it's mostly because I want to demonstrate his acceleration and what that looks like. I didn't give him a jump speed. I actually just wrote in a direct jump speed in the jump routine. You could actually make use of jump speed. It won't work if you just start sliding this, but if you wrote a routine and you wanted to control the jump speed here to have a little bit more control over it and for testing, you could do that. This module will not do that, but you absolutely could do that. So in actions, one of the things that's important to set up in actions, this module, the way that this code is set up, and this is how NESmaker is set up, this is how this particular module is set up, is that for the player, action step 0 is idle, action step 1 is walk, and notice I gave him a little bit of an animation, and action step 2 is jump. So none of the rest of them are set to anything, but it's really important to make sure that you set 0 to idle, 1 to walk, 2 to jump, and that 1, the walking step, has some speed of animation. Now you don't need to set anything else for the player because the player is mostly handled in code. You don't have a lot of access to this kind of stuff directly. You could, but I wouldn't, and we'll talk more about how to handle this when we start talking a little bit on about customizing your code in much later tutorials. Last thing, set a bounding box. This is not a top-down game anymore, so you might want to, get the whole guy. Now, one thing about platform games, collisions actually draw 1 pixel off. So what you might want to do is something like this. You may want to, for a platform game that's observing the ground as gravity, you might want to leave 1 pixel at the bottom, and then that's going to sort of play as you expect. It's going to look normal, and you're not going to be stuck in the ground. So anyway, we're going to close that. Awesome. So now we have our player. And what's great is, save it, you don't have to, but it's just a good habit to get into. If I go to project settings, and I go to script settings, you're going to notice in physics, if I go to edit, this will open up your physics routine in your whatever program you have set to open ASM files. I recommend Notepad++. This is a different script than the adventure tutorial. In fact, it's got a whole bunch of things happen that the adventure tutorial doesn't. See, you can see gravity being called right here. The other script didn't have gravity, that's for sure. The way that the vertical speed is handled is not by pressing the arrow keys, right? So this is a totally different physics engine than the one that we used for the top-down game. The trade-off of using this physics engine is it's kind of laborious. It's very big. If you remember the very first tutorial series, one of the things that happened was we ran out of space immediately because I wasn't paying attention. And that's because I had a lot of both scripts in that basic module code base. And I scaled it way back for the adventure tutorial, and then I had to put some of it back in. So we're running pretty low on space in this tutorial as it is, but a lot of that can be optimized. A lot of stuff can be taken out, and we could also use spillover banks for some of the code that doesn't rely on what bank you're in. So all that stuff's coming, and all that stuff is how basically figuring out ways to break the tool and make it do all kinds of stuff. I just wanted to kind of show you that this is using a different physics engine. It's using a different tile collision, and in fact, if you look at tile collision, something interesting. The tile collision for the original. Excuse me, 1 second. The tile collision for the original adventure tutorial only had 4 collision points, and what the problem with that is for a character like this guy, it's not that big a deal because it's going to check the top left corner, the top right corner, and then the bottom, right? But what happens if you have a block that's this size and your character is larger than this? If it checks the top and the bottom, it might end up being that there was no collision, and he kind of gets stuck right through. It's almost like he gets impaled by that block or whatever. So what we did was, for this, we set up an alternate collision edit. Now it's slower. If I go to project settings again, go to settings, and I look at that again. In fact, it's right here. It's a little bit slower because it has to do more stuff and it has to do more checks, but it does sort of prevent. And what this one does is it actually puts one right in the middle. However big your character is, it does the corners, and then it does one more in the middle wherever it is. So as long as your character isn't bigger than 48 pixels, this should work for most cases for background collision. So anyway, okay, so we've got this player. I'm going to give him just a nothing screen to sort of live on with the graphics banks, assets. I don't have anything yet, so if I go to pixel editor, I'm going to open up inside my beta assets folder, graphics, formula tile sets. I'm going to just open up this background character 100, and that's this. And let's make let's save this to the right place, but then we're going to go back and we're going to make a palette for it. We can see what's great about this is it's already in black, red, green, blue. I don't have to conform it. You can actually get all these if you want practice. You can actually load these from beta assets, graphics. And if you look at PNG, if you look at all files, they're all from this. This is where they're from. I just pulled it and built my own tile sets out of this by using the tile select button and grabbing these two, copying it, pasting that into a tile set, coming back here, grabbing another couple of tiles, pasting that into a tile set. I just did that over and over again until I had the tile set that I wanted. Before we go back and save that tile set, I'm sorry, I kind of jumped the gun here. Let's make a palette group. Oops. Let's make a palette group. And let's call this level 1. And let's right click and rename this guy level 1 pal. And if you right click, assign to level 1, now you'll see in level 1, I've got my level 1 palette. Okay, so now I can actually start playing with that. I know I'm messing with the right thing. If I go back to pixel editor, and let's get that. There we go. Let's open up where we were before. Sorry about this. Background 00. And now you'll see that I've gotten level 1 and level 1 palette chosen. Now when I start to make changes, it'll affect the tile set. I can actually see what it would look like through this palette if I go to enable palette translation. Now it's all gray because my entire palette's gray. For this one, I'm going to deviate from what we did in the last one. Instead of making it a black background like I usually do, I'm going to actually make it like a sky blue background like that. We're going to use the sky color as the transparent color here. And then I can't remember what color scheme this used. I think it was like the oranges and the darkest orange like that. That looks pretty good for one of the palettes. And then I think it was for this guy, it would be like, so this would be like light green in the first one, or like a yellow, mid green, and like a dark shadow color maybe. So like light color, regular green, and like a shadow color like that. Yeah, that's good. I could make this maybe something different, like maybe that's white, like a white flag, and then like a brown mast, and then something like that. So this is going to be, this is going to be ground. This is like a question block in Mario kind of. This is like a thing that we're going to pull up like in Mario 2. This is going to be a checkpoint that I can, hit and kind of go through. So there's a lot of sort of functionality inherent here just in a couple of tiles. I'm going to save this. Let me see what this looks like actually. Okay. What does this look like? Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to place it right over the top of my plat formula background 00. And now, if I go to graphics banks, graphic banks, graphics bank 1 assets, you'll see I have my assets here. We've got a couple of new tile sets here, a couple of new tiles here, and those are loaded. If I look at my project settings, labels, tile types. I've gone ahead and named a couple of these. We're not going to look at some of the ones we looked at in the previous tutorial, like the lock doors or NPCs or monster locks, breakable blocks. We're not going to look at any of those, but these are new ones. Pickup thing, one-way platform, prize box, checkpoint. You can still, I kept the code in that runs with these, and I actually kept them in the same place as far as what tile they are. So the scripts should work exactly the same if you went and followed exactly what I did in the tutorial last time. We're not going to use them in this, but I would love to see some people make use of the ones from the adventure tutorial in this tutorial, even though we're not going to use them as I show in this tutorial. So that'd be really cool, showing that you can take the ideas and synthesize them. Make a locked door and have to get a key to open it, or make a monster lock where you can't get through the room until you've beaten all the monsters, or whatever. That's cool stuff, man. So the scripts point to these, and we're going to look at the scripts. We're actually going to spend a little bit more time looking at the scripts so we understand what things are doing here. I'm going to make the sky here. We'll just call it level 1 sky. You might want to get into making a convention for your assets. So like I'm going to call it level 1, and all the level 1 assets I'm going to call level 1 sky. I'm going to save that guy, and you can see, bam, there it is. Now I'm going to make these guys both. I'm going to make a whole bunch of solid tiles. So what do we want to call this? Level 1 dead block. Save that. 1 prize block. Save that. We'll just call this one level 1 brick. Save that. Now, let's just start there for a second. We'll come back and we'll start adding more assets in a minute, but we can actually build some level with just the sky and the brick and start to see some stuff happen. So I'm going to go to Overworld. Now you'll notice a new change that was suggested in the forums that we thought was a great idea. As you move your mouse, no more counting. You can now see what screen you're on. So if I could start here, just a random screen. There we go. This is the starting screen. That's 8-8. Let's go this way. Okay, 4-10. I don't have to count over 4 and down 10 to see where I am. I'm just going to double click here, and this is screen 410. I'm going to right click on 410 and place player. You'll also notice all my place monsters are gone. They're not gone. The problem is I haven't assigned any monsters to this screen yet, so it won't let me place any objects besides the player until I actually make an assignment of monsters to the screen. That's a protection measure. You have to have something assigned if you're going to show any objects at all. Don't worry though, we're going to do that. That's just to prevent you from trying to place an object and then seeing the wrong graphics. So I'm going to just go ahead and put some bricks under my feet, and with the physics engine that exists, he should fall. Last thing that I'm going to do before we test this, I'm going to go to HUDs and boxes, and remember that I had to figure out that screen. When I at 410, I could actually see my demo screen. There we go. So I'm going to make a HUD at the top here. I'm going to set this to my playable area. I'm going to set this to my text box area. I'm probably not going to use text box in this. I'm probably also not going to use monster spawn in this, but good thing to just set them up. And I'm going to go to project, info, and I'm going to skip start screen. Okay. So now I can go ahead and it's going to start on this screen, and I can't do anything yet, but my guy should fall. Let's see. And there we go. So already we can start to see this is, NESmaker, but all of a sudden it's not an adventure game anymore. Now we are definitely in a side scroller just by adding gravity, just by taking away my ability to move up and down. Now I noticed that I have it open in the default emulator. It says, if it says Mystic Searches up here, that means that you're in the default emulator. What we want to do is we want to go to project settings, emulator. And I'm going to set this up to run with FCEUX, which if you don't have, you can Google and download. I recommend it because it has a lot of cool debugging features that you may want if you really get into this. So, NES stuff, Sports Mapper 30, FCEUX. And now what I've got to do is I have to I have to navigate to the game file that this is going to use. So I'm going to desktop, Platformula, game engine data. This is the folder that holds all the stuff for your game, and I need to tell it to load game.nes. And you'll see, if you happen to be trying to do this and you don't see game.nes, some people have run into this problem. In fact, if that whole folder where game.nes looks empty, the problem is probably that you had a virus scanner block when you tried to extract the files. We've seen a bunch of people have that issue. So if you don't see game.nes and you don't see any of those files in that folder, that probably means that it didn't fully unpack from the zip file, and you should turn your virus protection off while you try and unzip that. Now that I've got that set, if I test, export, and test, you'll see that I'm in FCEUX rather than our Mystic Searches demo emulator. All right, cool. So we've got this guy. He falls. That's awesome. Let's start making him move, because platform games don't even necessarily need monsters. They just need platforms and jump challenges. We're gonna make some monsters, but that's let's go to scripts, input scripts, and it'll automatically put you at Platformula. So we're going to go to user scripts, platform base instead of adventure base. And we're going to go to my movement scripts. And for this, we're going to load in change to idle and change to walking, just like we did with the adventure. But we're not going to bring in start moving down. We are going to bring in left, and we're going to bring in right, but we don't need up. We're going to bring in left and right, but we don't need up or down. So we're not going to bring those in. Now, it's not going to hurt anything if you do, but obviously that's not how a platform game works, and you're just wasting valuable ROM space at that point. So now that I've got these in, let's take a look. It's the exact same code. I haven't changed anything with this code, with the start moving left, start moving right. Very simple scripts. Change to idle, change to walking are exactly the same. And this is the part right here. See where we're changing to state 1, and that changes it to walking, and we're changing to state 0, and that changes it to idle. That's where this stuff came from. When we were in actions, and I said, okay, animation type 0 is idle, 1 is walk. So basically, what you're telling it is, when I press the key, we're going to change it to action step 1, which is walk. And you can guess that when I press the jump button, it's going to jump. It's going to activate, action step 2. So anyway, now that I've got these scripts loaded, he's not going to jump yet. We're just going to make him move. I'm going to go to input editor. Okay, so the input editor, there's a new import and import linker, which allows you to actually export and import your inputs. So if you make a long string of inputs and it works and you like it and you know that your next thing is going to use the exact same scripts or whatever the case may be, you can actually export and you don't have to relink all of the inputs again. But since this is still complicating a few people, I thought I would show it to you. I'm going to first say that in my main game, I want to do something. So in my main game, don't worry about a target. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you pick here. This is actually not even being observed at this point. I want to know when I'm holding the right key, he's going to start moving the player to the right. Add script. When I'm holding the left key, it's going to start moving player to the left. Add script. And you can read it like a sentence. In the main game, if I'm holding the right key, I'm going to run this start moving player to the right. When I release right, it's going to stop moving player right. And when I release left, it's going to stop moving player left. The other things that we want to do is we want to change his animation state. So if I press right, he's going to update to walking animation. And if I press left, he's going to update to walking animation. And if I release right, we're going to leave him changing to idle off for a second. No, actually, I'm sorry. We'll do it. So if I release right, I'm going to change to idle. And if I release left, I'm going to change to idle. Now that I have that, my guy should be able to move left and right. his animation should update. Now, this is assuming that you created animations for standing and moving and put them in action steps 0 and 1. If you didn't, obviously your guy's not going to. I did. If you want to see that again real quick before we get started, here we go. I made a idle animation and a walking animation. My walking animation looks like this. I also made the idle animation show idle right and idle left. My walk animation shows idle right and idle left, or walk right. My right shows walk right, walk left. My jump shows jump right, jump left. And then in my actions, I put idle, walk with speed, and jump. Okay. So you're going to need to do those things if you want yours to do what this is about to do. Export and test. So now he moves. Awesome. And he would die, but there's things that'll happen. If I go off the edge, he will fall. And we notice he turns into like a little pill or something. Actually, what he's turning into is this object right here, which that's what he's turning into, which is nothing. He's turning into basically the 0th object. And we're gonna need to set that up. So let's set up jumping and death right now. Very easy to set up jumping. What we're gonna do is we are going to go to our input script, user scripts, platform game base. We already have an input script, player jump. Let's take a look at it real quick. So this is what's happening. First, it's making sure it's making sure that the player object is the one that's actually doing something. It's loading X with player 1 object. And then it's checking to see, hey, are you on the ground? Because if you're not on the ground, don't do this. So if you're in the air, don't do what we're about to do. Forget what we're about to do. So this bit right here in the status determines in this engine whether I'm on the ground or not on the ground. If it's 0, I'm in the air. If it's 1, then I'm on the ground. So if I'm on the ground, then it's not equal to 0. It'd be equal to 1 if I'm on the ground. And that means do this stuff right here. This is your jump code. What it's really doing is this is a really dumb longhand way to get a -6. And I mostly put it this way so you guys can see it and it's fairly logical. If I load 0 and subtract 6 from it, I'm getting what is essentially -6. Now in NESmaker, or in assembly language, when we're dealing with 8-bit math, what this is really translating to is 250. There's only 256 values in 0 to 255. That's the biggest number that you can get as an 8-bit number, and so there is no such thing as a negative number, really. However, making something move upwards to 250 pixels would be the same thing as having it move down 6 pixels. It's the same number because it just wraps around again. So I just wanted to show you what I want to have happen is I want to set his V speed to a negative number, right? So I want to, because if I'm moving in a positive value, his V speed is going down. If I'm moving upwards, his V speed's got to be negative. So I'm loading 0, I'm subtracting 6 from it, so I've set my V speed to -6. If you want your guy to jump higher, make this number higher. I wouldn't go any higher than 9. Keep in mind your numbers are hex, so you get. I'm not going to actually put it here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then 10, 11, 12, etc. So it's a base 16 number system, not a base 10 system. If you put 10, you're really giving it a speed of 16. All right. I wouldn't go very much higher than 6. 6 is pretty high, but it all depends on what you want your game to do. And then it's ORing in. Actually, it should be doing this. Sorry. This is actually bad code. I want to tell it that it's no longer going to be on the ground. So it'll actually do a dummy check of this later. If yours, This is what it should say right here, because I'm now going into the air. So I believe I did that right. So it's going to be setting this bit to 0 and maintaining all of the other ones and making it status. And I'm changing the object state to 2, which that's what the jump state was 2. Remember over here when we were in this object and we look at this, 0, 1, 2 is jump. If you had an animated jump cycle, if you're actually animating, then you'd want to give this an animation. So let's check this out. So now if I go to input editor, when do I want to jump? Some people might want it. If you press up, you want to jump. Most people are going to want this to be sort of like Super Mario Brothers. I'm going to main game. Doesn't matter what you put. When I press the A button, player's going to jump. Add the script. Now there's going to be something sort of wrong and annoying about his jumping. We're going to talk about that in the next step and why we're doing something. So let's take a look at this. Make sure that he jumps. And there we go. And he jumps. Great. Cool. So what we want to do now, though, let me show you that again and show you what the problem is. If you've played a lot of platform games, you've probably noticed that, if you tap the button, you don't jump as high as if you hold down the button for a while. That's called variable jumping, and it's a pet peeve. If you don't have variable jumping in your game, your platform game sucks. Right now, if I tap the jump button and I hold the jump button, doesn't matter. He jumps exactly the same height. And that's super, super obnoxious. So what we want to do is when I let go of the A button, we're going to make something happen with that jump speed. Real easy. And this is not perfect, by the way. This is actually a really crappy way to do this. But I just wanted to show you guys in user scripts, show you the concept. Input scripts. I have one called var jump release. All right. If I look at var jump release, it loads. Basically, I could change this. This is what it'll change to. So -3 all of a sudden. So however high I'm jumping, it'll change to -3. I could make this 0, but it doesn't look right when it's 0. So what I'm doing is, if I'm moving down already, if it's positive, if my V speed is positive, that means I'm moving downwards. Skip this. Don't do this, because I only want to change my jump speed if I'm moving up. If I let go of the key when I'm moving up, then I want to reduce the jump speed. And you can play with this number. You can make it 2 or 1. Let's see what happens if I make it 1. I think it's going to be a little bit too strict if I make it 1. You could also do things like you could divide the number, and you could, there's all kinds of things that you can do here. For right now, the easiest thing to do is just give this a numeric value, even though it's a little clunky. So I'm going to go to my input editor, and I'm going to say when I release the A button on my main game, targeting null, I'm going to do the variable jump release. And this one I think 1 is a little bit too small of a number, so it starts moving down at a speed of 1. You'll see what I mean. It's a little too. So tap it, hold it. That's not bad. That really gives me a difference. But you can see how quick he starts moving down. It doesn't really feel all that natural. If you raise that number, there's pros and cons. So I'll show you. If we raise this number to 3. Then most of the time this is going to look better. Like if I just tap it, it looks better. The problem comes, so if I tap it, it actually has a more natural thing. And if I hold it, versus if I tap it, it's sort of a more natural arc. But if I let go when I'm close to the top, he'll get like a little goose sometimes, like that. Like that. And that's something that you might, that was not me pressing it again, by the way. That was let's see, did I Okay. That wasn't me pressing it again or anything like that. That was just it setting it to 3. And if it was a little bit less than 3, that it gave me that little bit of a goose back up. I'm going to, I'll let you figure out what number you want to put there, but now you get the idea. Okay. So now that we've got that going, that's great. Now we legitimately have a sort of a tiny start to a platform game already. So, if I have to get over here and can't fall down there we go. We have a basic platform. Great. It's not very interesting yet. I'm going to, make sure that I can get to another screen over here. This will be my starting screen. Let's make death work though. So what happens with death if we look at project settings? It's a little bit different than what happens in the adventure game. In the adventure game, it just created this death object here. And then when it creates that object and that animation's over, it goes away. You could do that with this game. You could do the exact same thing. We're going to do something that looks a little bit more like Super Mario Brothers. If I go to, let's see, where is it? Player death right there. And I go to edit. Let's take a look at what it does. So the first thing it does is it creates object 8 at the player's position. So it finds the player's position, then it creates object 8, and it takes object 8 and it gives it a speed of -6, right? And then it deactivates the player. So what's going to happen is it's going to create a thing that looks like the player, and it's going to have it start moving upwards and whatever. So when does the game restart? We had it restarting on an animation before. If you remember in the adventure game tutorial, we said, okay, if this object 0 is on the screen and we went here and we gave it like an animation, we said at the animation end, restart the game. But that's not what we want to do this time. When it gets to the bottom of the screen, that's when we want it to go away. We want it to, if I go to project settings, script settings, and I go to handle bounds, we want it to die, quote unquote, when I get to the bottom of the screen. So if I look at bottom bounds reached here, you can see right here, this is when it handles player's death. Handle player death. Right here. Load the type. If it's 8, not death object as screen byte bottom, blah, blah, blah. This is just a guide to get you down here. If it is object 8, it's going to change the state of the game to start game. It's not going to reset. This is going to allow us to do things like add checkpoints, add lives, and things like that. So it's not literally like pressing the reset button on your NES. It's going to actually reset the game to its starting mode, whatever the starting mode was. But it's going to remember where your last checkpoint was. It's going to remember if you have lives set up, how many lives you had. It's going to remember how many coins you had or whatever your collectible is. So this is a way to make it more like a traditional platform where you continue on. You don't just one death and that's it. You could just make this say restart right here, and then there you go. It would just restart. We're not going to do that though. So the tricky thing is, if I go over to here, we're using this object, and I want it to look like this guy right here. So I'm going to make it 2 by 2, and that's it. He's not going to have any other animation. I could make him like spinning or something, or I could, make him flailing or whatever if I wanted to, but this will be easy enough. And I'm going to call this player death. Oops. And save it. My object details. I don't need to set any of this stuff. It's not going to see any collisions with any other objects at all. It doesn't have anything here. But my actions. Now, a couple of things that you're going to notice are, one, we've got one that's called ignore solids. We want to click this because if you if you died right here, if there was a bad guy right here and you die when you hit it, and this thing was created and went, woo, but it would stop right there, just like any other object would stop at a collision. We want it to ignore collisions. So in the object details, I'm going to tell it to ignore solid collisions, basically. The thing about this is this is going to be determined on a module by module basis. We made this object. If this flag is hit, ignore collisions. And I'll show you what I mean. When we look into scripting, and again, this is a tutorial down the road. This is not something that we're going to handle right now. If I look at my physics script, I go to edit, and I could go to see. Let's see if I can find it real quick. No, I'm sorry. We're actually going to look at tile collision. Edit. Well, I'm going to have to look at where I have this happening, because I don't see where I have it happening right here, but I know it happens somewhere, and I can't remember where I put it in the code. But let's see. There we go. So right now, right here, handle solid collision. What happens when there's a solid collision? It looks at an object's vulnerability byte, which that's what that is actually called, that byte that we were looking at right there. Right here. These are your vulnerability bytes right here. And it's going to look at the 7th one. So if we look at this, like 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to look at the 7th one, which reads like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we look at the vulnerability, and if that is ticked, then ignore. If it's not ticked, do normal collision. If it is ticked, that means this part is, if it is ticked, then do nothing at solid. So we told this particular physics script what to do with that data that we use the tool to get. So that doesn't, in all engines, that's not going to be ignore solids. In this engine it is, and we then change the name here, right here in monster action set flags, to ignore solids. So we changed the name to match what the code did, to what the script did, and that allowed us, that's going to allow us to ignore collisions for this monster right here. So now let's check this out again, and I think I had everything set the way that it needs to be. There you go. And when he gets to the bottom, that's when the game restarts. And let's see if I can make him. You can see he's kind of colliding with the solid right there, but it doesn't stop him. He's completely immune to that solid. So awesome. Now we actually have something that feels like a platform game. Another thing that this engine does that makes it feel a little bit better for platforming is we have variable jumping, depending on how long you hold the jump key. We also have variable speed if you hold the B button. So if you don't hold the B button, you move this fast. If you do, you sprint. And I'll show you where that is just so you can kind of get a feel for it. If I look at, let's see, project settings, script settings, and I look at my physics, edit. I think I have an actual, nope, not there. Let's see. Trying to figure out how to best look it up. There we go. Nope, it's not in physics. It is somewhere else. Let's see. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. Sometimes just searching for stuff helps me find things a lot faster. So here's where I have the check to see if the B button is pressed. So basically what happens is right here is where I get the max speed. So inside physics, at around 214 in this, this is where I get the speed, and I place it into temp3, and I place it into a temporary variable just so I can manipulate it further. I'm going to check to see if, first of all, am I talking about the player? If I'm not talking about the player, don't even look to see if I can sprint if I'm holding the B button, right? If it is the player, check the gamepad. If the B button is down, and basically this is your D-pad, and then select and start, and then B and A. If the B button is being held down, if it's 0, that means it's not held down, so don't check for a sprint. There's no sprint. It's going to jump to here. So this is where it should check for sprinting. So if it is sprinting, it's going to take that maximum speed value that I have right here, and it's going to add 1 to it, and then it's going to store it to temp3. Temp3 down here is what's going to be used to determine, you know, how fast my character is able to go, what's his maximum speed throughout the rest of this script. So this right here, basically if I'm holding down the B button and it's the player, it's going to give my maximum speed a little bit of a boost. Now, if you want to turbo boost this, you might make this, 2, 3, 4 if you want it to be a lot faster. I think that's plenty. Also, you can get, if you wanted to get a little bit granular with that speed update, temp2 is the low byte of the speed. So you could actually do the exact same thing, this routine right here, with the low byte and add anywhere between 0 and FF, which is hex values. If you need to know hex values, Google a hex decimal to hex calculator and know that you can use values 0 to 255. So 80 in hex would be right in the middle. 128 in decimal would be right in the middle. I'm saying a lot of things here. I'm probably confusing you. But anyway, you get the idea. I can actually affect the max speed based on a button press. This is absolutely something we did not have in our adventure game. But now that you see how I did it right here, you can see how to add this part to your adventure game. You could find this part of the adventure game code, and if you wanted to sprint, you could put something like this into your adventure game, right? So I want you to sort of, at this point, it's kind of cargo cult programming. You don't really know what every little piece is doing, but it's going to start to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with the code the more we look at it. So I want to keep showing you what's going on under the hood to give you a better appreciation. All right, let's close this down. And so now we've got our player running around, and I want to make a second screen real quick. I can see where the other screen starts, and great. So over here, I'm going to make a very sort of Mario looking screen over here with, a question block. And so let's talk about what's going on with the question block, because I did make a tile type. Before I even test that, let's take a look at what's happening, because we're going to need to set 1 or 2 more things to make it work. Prize block, right now, I haven't set up at all. I made it solid, but we don't want it to be solid. We want it to be a prize box. So I'm going to change that. Now, just because I change it here does not mean that it changed here. If I look at the top and I put my mouse over it, it's still just a solid. That's because this is a painter, and I want you to get used to this. Imagine that this is your canvas, and these are your paints. If I paint something to the canvas and then I remix the paint, that doesn't change the color over here. That just changes the color that I'm working with. Now, if I want that to be this new color, I need to click on it and replace it. Now, if I look, it's a prize box. Let's take a look at what prize box does. So if I go to project settings, script settings, and I look at prize box, edit. Doesn't do anything, right? All it does is the exact same thing that solid does. Okay, now we're getting into some of the complexities with platform engines. Why are platform engines so much more difficult than the top-down engine that we looked at? And a lot of it has to do with tile collision and the physics. So what I want to do is, let's see if I can just look up with the codes that I have open, prize. I don't think I even have a prize box thing. Nope, I don't. What it is that that's 9. Let me see if there's a comparison to 9, because that's the 9th tile type. And there is. And there it is right there. What this whole code is doing is it's checking to see which objects are solid. And for right now, in this module, the objects that are solid are, if I look at their names, 1, 8 sort of sometimes, 9 sort of sometimes. So if I look at this right here, you'll see I'm checking to see when I should do solid things. If it's 1, if it's 8, or if it's 9. And you'll see here, I say check other potential solid types here. Monsters may see other types of solid, not solid, blah, blah, blah. If I want more than just 1 to be solid, I need to place it here. For instance, if I want a lock block to act as a solid, I need to say, okay, I also need to add locked door to this list. So I need to compare it to 3. Oops. I also need to compare it to 3, and if it's solid, I need to record a solid. That's why I said I'm just going to leave lock blocks and other types of objects off of this one, because of all the work that you have to do to have it seen as solid. It's not that it's hard. It's that if you don't know what you're looking at in the assembly code, you're definitely going to miss something. So for right now, we're just going to skip those types, and we are going to worry about the types that are sort of more for platforming. For those of you who are really interested, I'll probably be posting some stuff on the forums about this. And if you guys want to jump on and start posting stuff, awesome. Okay, so with the prize box, what is actually happening when I hit the prize box? So let's take a look. What's happening when I hit the prize box? If it's above me, this is what's happening. If it's above me, it's checking to see where I am in relation to it. If it's above me, it's going to change the prize box to whatever's under the slash, and it's going to change it to collision type 1. We haven't set this up yet, but it's going to change it to collision type 1, which means it's going to be solid. It's not going to be a prize box anymore. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to launch power up. Well, that's cool. What does launch power up do? Well, I think I might have that open right now. Let's see. I do right here. This is what launch power up does. It looks at where the player is, and it creates object number 1. Creates object number 1 at the position of my player. So what is object number 1? Right now it's nothing at all. So if I hit the prize box for right now, I want the carrot to pop out of it. So what I'll do is I'm going to call this carrot up or something like that. And I would start creating the carrot. And I've already done this, so I'm going to load mine. Again, you don't have this folder. It doesn't exist for you. You go ahead, you make your carrot. Make it animated if you want, whatever. Make your prize. I'm going to get my carrot from here to save time. There we go. And this is what mine looks like. It's actually a blinking carrot. And I used all 8 frames because I'm going to use my animation to make it go away. So I'm going to save that. There we go. I'm going to look at my object details. I've got flashing and braking. And braking is just this little explosion, which I made by each frame uses 0, 1, 2, 3, and it's flipped appropriately. So this is normal, this is flipped horizontally, this is flipped vertically, this is flipped vertically and horizontally. It's all that right there, but this is going to make it look like it explodes. In my object details, I've got flashing and braking, all normal, all braking. Doesn't need anything because it's not actually interacting with anything, this carrot. It doesn't pop up like a mushroom in Mario. It's just an indicator like, I got something, yay, hooray. You know, it shows like when you hit a coin block, that's what this is going to be sort of the equivalent of. So I'm going to make it flashing, and when the animation is done, it's going to advance. It's going to be the braking state, and when the braking state's done, it's going to get destroyed. Now I have to make sure that both of these have an animation speed, so that way they can use end animation to advance or destroy. And I want to make sure that this one ignores solids. So again, this is just an effect to let me know if I don't ignore solids, when the carrot like goes upwards, if it hits a solid, right, it's going to bounce back down. It's going to whatever. If you wanted to make something more like a mushroom from Super Mario Brothers that actually is interacting with the world that you have to collect or whatever, you might not make it ignore solids. But we're going to make this just like a coin. Like you hit the question block and the coin pops out. You don't have to collect it. It's just an indicator. We're going to have it ignore solids. And with this, I made it not collide with player, ignore gravity. You don't really have to do this. This is just pulling it in from something else. I'm going to make it ignore gravity, so it's going to fly up, and when it's done, it's going to poof, and the poof is going to stop falling. Again, ignore gravity is something that this module has that I already set up in the physics script. Bounding box, if you want to give it a bounding box, it's not really colliding with anything, so it's not too big of a deal. It's just always good practice to give these things bounding boxes. All right, so now that this type of object is, because of what's in the scripts, it's going to be solid. It's going to be treated as solid unless I strike it from underneath. If I strike it from underneath, it's going to turn into whatever's under tile slash. If I look at that code, whatever's under slash, which we haven't set up yet, and it's going to have a collision type of 1, which is solid. So let's set up with what's under slash. These are just, if we go to special tiles within graphic banks 1, this is what's under slash, this is what's under stomp, this is what's under secret. These names don't mean anything. This is a sort of holdover from Mystic Searches. What this is saying is you have 4 different types of tile graphics that your tile can turn into. For this, we want this to turn into this. Simple. So under slash, we're going to set it to this. And now we should be able to actually hit the question block and have the coin pop up. Or caret in this case. So, and there it is. So awesome. We have a nice little sort of power up boost right there. One of the tricks is right now, if I go off the screen and back on, it's there again because how do you want to solve that problem? Do you want to make this trigger the screen? But if you do, what if you have 3 question blocks? Do all of them trigger the screen so that if you go off, they're all triggered? You have to start figuring out clever ways to handle the situation. Maybe you use monsters instead. Maybe you have some screen bits that determine, you can have 8 of them on a screen and each bit relates to 1. And then when that screen loads, it reads one of those bits to know if it should flip it or not flip it when the screen loads. There are lots of ways to do this. There's no one single way to do any of this. So I'm just showing you a really simple version of it. And then, hopefully you guys start to come up with your own ideas over time. But that's really cool. The other thing that I'd like to show you guys is how to make a jump through block. Let's change their color though. So I'm going to go to assets and I'm going to make a block that's green. And this is going to be a special indicator that this is a jump through block. So I'm going to use one-way platform and I'll call this level 1 one-way plat. Save it. There you go. And again, we're in the scripts. And if I look, this is the 8th type. If I look, this is the 8th type. So when I'm checking for the collision, I know it was checking for, oops. Now, none of this I expect you guys to know at this point, more the concept. So when I'm checking for solids, and that's what this whole part of the script is doing, it's comparing it to 8, and it wants to know what it's doing. But if I'm underneath of it, it only is going to see it as solid if I'm over the top of it. If my bottom value plus my vertical speed is above this block, then it's going to see it as solid. Any other time, it's not going to see it as solid. So this is a special case solid, which is why it's got to be defined as a special case. So let's put that on the screen. I put them on the same row, but I couldn't quite jump high enough. I don't know if you can see where my feet end, but I couldn't quite, even if I was jumping, I couldn't quite jump high enough to get up there. So if I want to get above them. So if I want to put these higher, like in this scheme right here, then I'd probably make my jump speed a little bit higher. Or for this right now, I'm just going to hit escape. And now I don't have any of these selected. I'm going to hold shift, click and drag, control C. And now I'm going to place these right here by moving my mouse there, hitting control V. I'm going to get rid of these by hitting 5 Get rid of them. Now that's going to be more on the scale of my current game. Again, the other way that I could fix that is I could make that make my jump speed higher. Either way, so now it's cool. I've got a prize block and I've got this one-way block. Let's add one more way to sort of get your prizes, and that's this little guy right here, a little grass thing. This is more like Mario 2. Right, I called this one pickup thing. So let's real quick take a look at what pickup thing does in script. Some of you guys probably really love that we're looking so much at the scripts. Some of you guys are like, why are we looking at all these scripts? I called this one pickup scrub. And so really what this is doing is it's doing the exact same script. It's doing that launch power-up script again. That's really all it's doing. It's also adding a value to a variable called myScore, which we haven't set up yet. And I'm going to show you how to set that up. It's changing the collision based on where you collide with it to 0. So if you're colliding with the grass, it's going to become not grass anymore. And it's going to change into a blank tile. So blank collision, blank tile, the 0th tile, and it's going to launch the power up. And so let's take a look at that. And also, these things could do sounds and play sounds. We haven't set up any sounds or music or anything yet with this. So close this. I'm going to save this as level 1 grass. Save it. Great. Overworld. I'll put these right here on the first screen. So let's put a couple of these. And this script checks to see if the B button's being held. It's not perfect because you probably want to do it when it's pressed, but right now, again, it's a direct check to see if the B button's down. It's not happening in the it's not happening in the input. It's a direct check in the collision code. So if I press the B button, there we go. I get that same object coming up. But if I'm holding it like I am now, you can see right here. Whoops, you can see right here that I'm holding it right now. If I walk over it while I'm holding it, it'll still jump up. So it's kind of not as cool as pressing it, but it's a quick, easy fix for this tutorial's purposes. So got that, and got the ability to get these. Very cool. All right, so now that we got that working, let's what's next? Let's make an obstacle right here. We're going to do something different. We made that guy who walks back and forth, and that was really neat in the adventure tutorial. We're going to use the exact same guy doing the exact same thing in this tutorial. So let's make something different for an AI in this tutorial. I'm going to make a fireball that kind of goes up and comes back down, and goes up and comes back down, and comes up and comes back down. I can make it regular. I can make it randomized time-wise. I could add 2 or 3 of them. Let's take a look at how I would do that. I'm going to make a, let's see, believe it was this guy. I'm going to make an object, but I'm going to make it like blank. I'm not going to see anything. And I'm going to I'm going to load mine and then show you how I did it, but I'm just going to make a blank object. So I'm not going to see this at all on the screen. I've already done this. I called this Fireball Producer. And let's take a look at what Fireball Producer actually does. He's got no speed, no type, doesn't do anything when he hits solid or edge. Nothing going on except there's a timer. It ignores gravity, so it's not moving at all. It's basically not moving at all. And I probably want to put no player collision on this too. Yours may or may not have that. You don't have this anyway. So I would put no player collision because if you run into this, you don't want it to kill you or hurt you necessarily. This is just going to be a controller that's going to shoot the fireballs. This isn't actually the fireballs. This is just the controller that's going to do it. So when this timer goes off, it's going to advance the action to this. And it's going to happen again. No player collision. Well, when this timer goes off, it's going to advance again. And when this timer goes off, it's going to produce fireball. And then it's going to loop back to the first one again. Set that again. So produce fireball. Well, what's that do? That's an AI action called produce fireball. Let's take a look. If I go to project settings, script settings, and I look at the AI action number 9, produce fireball, edit. it's going to create object 0A, which is the one right. This is 9A. So 9A, B, C, D, E, F. Effect 2 is going to be my fireball. Now, if you could change, you could have it produce monsters by changing this number, and I'll give you a hint. These are 0 through 15. Monsters start at 16. And don't forget hex values. So 16 is really written like this, and 17 is that, and 18 is that. So it takes some getting used to. If you don't know what I'm talking about with hex values, you can Google des to hex converter. There's calculators and everything. So if you really want 16, it'll tell you that 16 equals 10, like number 16 equals hex value 10. Anyway, you'll get used to the number system as you go, as you start to work in code. But just know that these objects here are 0 through 0F. We want to create this one, which we're going to make into a fireball. And that fireball's going to have a vertical speed. I'm going to even set this a little bit higher, maybe 0A. So that's faster. It's going to move up faster. All right. So that's what produce fireball AI is doing. That's what I told that object to do. So it's going to produce this. It's going to produce this object right here, which of course looks like nothing. I'm going to make sure that it uses my game object palette and uses this fireball. I'm going to give it 2 frames so it kind of goes back and forth. I've already done all this, so I'm going to load mine, import my fireball. And what you're going to notice in object details is it's a monster weapon in details. That means generally I can't destroy it with like a melee of my own because it's a weapon. It's not actually a monster, but it'll still hurt me. It'll still affect me the same way a monster would. That's kind of what the collision tells it to do. I want to ignore solids. So if it does hit a solid, it's a fireball. It shouldn't sit on a solid object. It should go right through the solid object. You've played Mario, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to give it a fast speed, and I'm not going to make it do anything. It's just going to be shot up from the routine, and gravity is going to pull it downwards. And when it gets to the bottom of the screen, when it gets to the edge, I want to make sure that it gets destroyed, and then give it a bounding box. Okay, so now what I've got to do is I've made this object and I made this object. I can't put them in the game though. If I look, I want to put them right here. I should be able to place my game object by right clicking, but I can't. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I have no monster groups and I can't set these unless I have a monster group. So since I have no monsters yet, I'm going to make a dummy monster group. I'm going to set one up. I'm going to go to graphics, bank 0 for monsters. Go to monsters. I'm not even going to make a monster yet. I'm just going to make a dummy group actually. I'm going to call this dummy group. And I'll make this when I actually make my first real monster. So I haven't even used a monster yet in the game. And I'm going to already have obstacles. So I'm going to go to screen info. And I'm going to set my day monsters to the dummy group. And there's no monsters there. But now that I have a monster group set, now you'll notice I can place monsters. So I'm going to put that fireball creator, that fireball producer here. And what's going to happen is it's going to be see-through, which is going to be awesome. And it's going to shoot upwards like this. And it's going to fall. So let's take a look at that real quick. And there's my fireball. Little too fast. Okay, remember when I set the speed for that? I'm going to change that back a little bit. Instead of OA, let's bring it back to 08 and let's see if that's the right speed. Okay, so there we go. And if I run into that, if I can, whoops, if I run into that, try to anticipate it here. Shoot. I can't seem to die. I'll just walk off into it. Okay, here's how I can make myself run into it. Let me put a brick right here. And remember, it should go right through the brick. So if I stand on that brick, it should hit me. it kills me. So very cool. Now we have a monster that can, hurt us. We haven't even created a monster, so we got more bang for our buck. Now we can put that on any screen at all, no matter what monsters are loaded, which is why I wanted to use a game object to do it. So that's really cool. We can put that on any screen, no matter what monster's there, which is great for a platform game. You can imagine that we can make other things to spikes that fall when we walk under them or whatever, using pretty much the same exact concepts. Things that fall, like it just creates an object at its place and it just fall like dripping acid or something. The same idea, except that we create it here and it wouldn't have it. It wouldn't have it shoot up like this. It would instead have it shoot down, or it would just create it and let gravity pull it like a water drop. So just some ideas of how you can make another, producer, like a acid producer that's a drip, creates it at its spot, but it's the same exact code, except it creates a different object here. Instead of A, it would create C, and doesn't give it this negative vertical speed to make it pop up. So I mean, cool. We got a lot happening in our little platform game already. Let's add a monster that kind of moseys back and forth. So I'm gonna add a monster, and I don't have a graphic loaded for monsters yet, so let me do that real quick. I'm going to open up, and you guys have beta assets, graphics. You guys have monster. Let's see. Really simple, just that same dude. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to put him. I'm going to overwrite my monster 00. Yep. And now that guy, I can use him. If I go back to my monsters now. Wait for it to catch up. There it is. All right, so I'm going to make a new palette. I'm going to call this MonPal. Rename it. And I'm going to make him 2x2. I'm going to make him 2 frames of animation. That's it. He's just a simple animated monster. I'm going to go to monster. I'm going to import my monster. You do not have this folder. I cannot say it enough times. I have this folder. You don't have this folder. I already made these guys, so I'm just loading them in. I'm going to bring in Slime Monster, and I'm going to give him, let's see, he should be purple, maybe. I don't know. This would be like a light purple, and this would be like that dark blue, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Great. So saving that guy. Let's look at his object details. I just made him move slow and accelerate kind of slow. I give him 1 hit point. I made him a monster. When he hits a solid object, he reverses. When he hits the edge, he reverses. His actions, he just moves left and right. Which should be loaded for you automatically. And bounding box around him. Notice I left the bottom again because that 1 pixel draw difference. I left the bottom pixel, and I'll do this for all my platform objects. So awesome. Now what I can do is that dummy group that I made, I can actually make a new group. Slimes. Call it all slime. Save it. There we go. And on my overworld on this screen right here, let's put day monsters at all slime, and let's make sure that it's using the monster palette. And now I can place. And notice here's another update to the tool. It actually shows you the name of the monster that you're placing instead of just showing you monster A, B, C, D. It shows you the name. So I'm going to place one there. I'm going to place one here. So I can get those. I can avoid the fire. Oh, now I get it. I get those. I can avoid the fireball. I can come over here. There's monsters. I can jump through this platform. Those monsters are whatever, and I could wait till he gets by. I could come here. I can get this, and oh, did you notice that? My carrot seems to have hit its head. That was weird. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of things happening. There's a couple more things that I want to do in this tutorial. One of them is a checkpoint system. So we want to, you advance so far in your game, and you want to continue at that spot. So I'm going to make a third screen here, and it's going to be a continue screen. Let's make it stairs like Mario here, since I've got a flag. And it's not really meant to be like a end of the level flag like in Mario, but just to be novel, I'm going to put the flag right there, and that's going to be my checkpoint. So I'm going to go to Assets. I'm going to go to this flag right here. I'll use this sub palette, and I'll call this level 1 checkpoint, and I'm going to use the checkpoint type. I'm going to save it. So now I can see. And let's take a look at the checkpoint script. Project settings, script settings, just so we can see what's happening. Tile collision, continue. And let's edit that. So what's happening is it's actually changing my continue positions, and it's going to change the tile at that collision to 0, which is no collision at all. I'm going to be able to walk right through it. And under stomp for the graphic. So let's set under stomp real quick. What we want this to turn into is we want this to turn into the flag down. We want it to turn into this graphic right here. So I'm going to go to my special tiles, and under stomp right here, I'm going to tell it I want it to be this. Cool. So now when I run in, when I place that, when I hit that, it's going to turn to the other, and it's going to automatically save, make that my new save spot. So let's take a look. Okay. And I hit that. Now let's go die. Let's go lose a life here. And oh, I died. But I'm starting at the point of my last save. So really cool that the checkpoints work. And the other thing that's cool about the checkpoints is I can now set a checkpoint over here. And let me space that out a little bit more. I'm going to jump over this checkpoint. So I'm going to skip this first checkpoint. And I'm going to come here, and I'll die. And as expected, it'll start me at that checkpoint. And if I die right now, it's going to take me to that checkpoint. But if I come back over here, and I die, so I can put as many checkpoints as I want along the way, and the last one I touch is going to be the one that actually ends up being the new checkpoint. The other thing that this game engine, I put into this game engine, just because, you know, the Mario relevance, is I put a thing here in object collision. So if we look at script settings, and we look at handle object collisions, I did this right here. Right here. So I made it possible, if you have a certain bit flipped, that allows you to kill the monster by jumping on it. Now, what I did, instead of hard coding this into the engine so that all objects would behave that way, I made a bit flip. So if you turn it on, it'll stomp on the monster, and then what it'll do is it will jump on the monster, so it'll start your vertical speed moving upwards, and it'll add to your score, and it'll make the other object go away. So that's this part. So you know, you can decide whether or not you want to use this feature or not. Pretty easy. So with these guys, I do want to use them. So if I go to that monster right there, and I look at his object details, you can see I've got jump on kills. If I did not have that X'd, jumping on him would kill me. Now that I do, I can jump on him and it squashes him. I don't have a graphic for him being squashed or killed or anything like that, but I could have, when he gets destroyed, it turns into the poof or whatever. Right now I just have it so he just goes away. Oh. So if I jump on him, he dies. If I don't jump on him, if I walk into him, I die. So really cool, simple way to, challenge you to have to jump on things. And, it's starting to feel, other than the scrolling, it's starting to feel a little bit like a Mario game, which is a lot of fun. Which, if you look at Troll Burner, or you look at the tutorial that we did in the beta, it was more kind of a not Castlevania, but more of a Mega Man maybe. There was ladders and you shot at things and stuff, and this is much more a Mario thing. So again, it's just showing you the diversity of what you can create with the tool, and just by shifting around the ASM that's underneath a little bit. Okay, so let's add the HUD now. So I don't have any graphics loaded for the HUD. Let's go to my pixel editor, and I'm going to load up. I've got in beta assets graphics. I've got letters and numbers. I actually want this to be not solid. I could make this black or something. I'm going to make this just the sky color. So the sky color, you notice, is the first color in all of them. It's the black color in all of them. I'm going to, let's translate it. And it's going to use this, but I don't want that to be dark blue. I'm going to use the global color change there. So it's going to like blend in with the sky. And I'm going to save as, and I need to put this over my HUD tiles. Yep. And I'm going to go to HUD boxes, tiles. These should already be set up, I would think. So here's the tiles. I'm not even going to worry about HUD assets. I'm going to make something really simple. These are the variables that this already has. All I'm going to use for this one is score. I just want my score to go up, and I already have it working. I already have it plugged in where score is working. My initial value is going to be 0. HUD elements. So I'm just going to have the first one be text that says the word score, and I'll put it down a little bit and over a little bit. It'll say score. Not going to get too tricky with this. If I look back at my variables, score was 0, 1, 2. So let's use 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And that's going to be a number. I do want to show you in this tutorial how this works. I'm going to make it 6 places, and I'll show you why I'm going to make it 6 places in a second. I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so now if I test, it's already wired up that a bunch of things give me score. I could make other things give me score, and I'll show you how you can make them give you score in just a second. This, by the way, is one of the tricks that you might have to change if you did a platform game and it doesn't work the way you expected, or you got an error. It was because of one of the scripts that I changed to make this work. If you look at the top, as I'm getting things and as I'm stomping on monsters, it's updating my score. Now, it didn't update there. So that's one place I need to add a score, and that's great. So I can show you how to do that. So it didn't update my score when I hit that right there. It does seem to be updating my score properly when I get one of these or stomp on a bad guy. Right? And it preserves when I go on to the next screen. Okay, so let's talk about how to add score and how this works. I added one more argument to this so that you could add score to multiple places instead of just always the ones place. This is really a 6-digit number, but it's not a decimal number. We're dealing in hex values, so that it's really hard to sort of translate. And also with 8-bit value, you're limited to 0 to 255. So you'd have to use a 16-bit value and then convert it into, a value out of 100,000. That's super complicated. You don't have to make it this difficult. What we did was each of these is represented by a variable. So if we actually looked at your variable, your score variable has 6 potential bytes that you can use. Ones place, tens place, hundreds place, whatever. This is a score. This is score plus 1. This is score plus 2, score plus 3, score plus 4. So we can write to each of these places individually. And the tabulation, what it does is if this gets above 9, it adds a carry to score plus 1 and then turns this back to 0. So what we see ends up looking like a 6-digit number or an 8-digit number or a 3-digit number, whatever you set your places to. what you see, but what actually is being written is literally different bytes with a value of 0 to 9. So it's kind of a clever trick. It's more code, it's more ROM space, but it's way simpler on the back end to update in a complex thing like this HUD. So let's take a look at the macro that's actually being handled, and we'll do one. We'll add one. I can actually show you someplace where it's happening. If we look at here, so this is a macro called add score. What it needs to know is, and I actually wrote it here, how many places is this variable? So if you wanted an 8-place variable, you need to change this to 8. If you wanted a 2-place variable, just ones and tens place, this would be 2. What variable is it that you want to change? If I wanted to change a variable called my ammo, this would be my ammo. I don't have my ammo. What I have is my health, my score, my keys, my money. My money was a number, and my score was a number, and I think my keys might have been a number. So those all sort of function this way. This value is what do you want to increase it by? This increases it by 1, whatever that value is. And this is the new part. This is the part that you have to add to anywhere that was add value or subtract value from the other tutorials. This is what place. So if this is 0, it's going to affect the ones place. If this is 1, it's going to affect the tens place. If it's 2, it's going to affect the hundreds place, et cetera, et cetera. So right now it's just going to affect the ones place. Okay. And this is what turns on to change the HUD. So if you want the HUD to be updated with it as well, you need to do this with the name of your variable sitting right there that you're changing. So I'm going to copy this real quick. And I'm going to go to my spot in my right here in my platform physics and physics script, and I already had it open. So if you need to find that was in project settings, script settings. I went to physics and I hit edit. And I'm down at around 650 years, might be a couple lines off, but this right here is where I'm creating that power up, right? So right after I create that power up, I'm going to paste that in. I want my score to also go up right here. And we're going to test that to make sure it works. I'm going to hit Control S. I'm not sure if your script is going to have this in it or not already. It may already. So now if I get this, score went up. See? So I just added that little piece of code that made the score go up. Now let's just pretend that for some reason this is a special power up and I want this to go up by 25. What I want is I want it to go up 5 in the ones place, and I want it to go up 2 in the tens place. So this determines this is 0 would be the ones place, 1 would be the tens place, 2 would be the hundreds place, etc. So really I'm making it go up by 25. Let's test that. Now that only will happen right here in the code where I hit the exclamation block there. Oops. Sorry. Got an error. What did I do wrong? Probably a branch out of range error. Let's see. Branch out of range. 664, 668. Some of the most annoying errors, but I'll show you how to fix them. What's happening here is it's this branch right here is too far away for this to jump to this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert the jump. I'm going to say I'll explain this in 2 seconds. So if it's not equal, this is where I want it to jump. So what I'm going to ask instead is, hey, if it's equal, just jump this far. And then if it's not equal, this is what's happening. It's going to jump far. And that's kind of confusing. We'll go over that again when we script a little bit more. And I also have to change this one. So BCC see. There we go. So that should fix that error. All I did was sort of inverted the jumps, inverted the conditions, and that should work now. And it works. Now, if I get these, it'll still go up by 1. But if I get this one, it'll go up by 25. So it should say 26. There we go. 27, 28. Awesome. So now it's working as I expected it to. Obviously, I probably don't want that to happen. So I'll go back to my script and I only want it to go up by 1. So just 1 in the ones place. Save that. Awesome. So, I mean, there's so much happening right now in our little platform game. Let's learn how to add some music and some sound effects and things like that. Now, unfortunately, somebody gave me a really great piece of music, but our music importer, silly mistake, was reading something in decimal that should have been in hex. So we could only see 10 patterns. This one had 16 patterns. So I had to shorten it, which is a shame because it was a really cool little melody, but definitely want to still show it off and give credit. So let's import a new song here. Let's import FamiTracker text, plat formula, beta assets, music, and we're going to get the plat formula with sound effects. And you'll see now I have a song and I've got some sound effects. And now the coin sound might pop up a bunch because I don't have an empty sound anymore. So check it out. Anywhere that there's a sound, it's going to right now play a coin. And I'm not sure where that sound is going to happen. I don't know, if I run into a monster, it might happen, that kind of thing. So, but let's, I should have some music now. So if I go to my overworld, screen info, and you can see now it's playing samba. Oops, that's playing samba. So let's hear what that sounds like. And I think I might have turned the volume down for the tutorial. So let me turn it back up a little bit. Yeah, it's there. It's just very quiet. So sound. So that's super fun. And it doesn't know what sound to play when I die, and that's why I'm getting this horrible craziness here. And so we want to make sure that I have a sound effect set for death if I want to play a sound there. I believe what happened was it actually stops the sound when I die, and that might be doing some wackiness. So sometimes, like if you hear that, if you see that happens where you're playing along, things are going well, and then somewhere a sound, like you hear the sound just drop out and go crazy like that, then there's probably either something wrong with the sound effect or there's some weird reference happening right there. Let's find where that happens, which I believe is in player death. Well, let's see. It might be when the player runs into me actually where that happened. So let's go to project settings, script settings, hurt monster, handle player hurt. That's what we want. So here, I bet you there's a sound effect that plays. There it is. Play sound effect player hurt. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or if there's something wrong with the sound effects the way that I've loaded them in. But what we can do is if I go to sound effects, I look for sound effects player hurt. All right, I can now change that to the sound that I want. So let's change it to ouch real quick. I have a feeling what's happening is he's getting hurt and he's dying at the exact same time, and that's causing some wackiness to happen. But I just wanted to show you that's how I can now change the sound effect. So this is the label that's being called here. to this. Now, if you have a problem and if you find where that sound effect is happening, if it's giving you trouble, you can just comment that out by putting that right there. I'm turning it green like that. Let's see if that works or not, and we'll try and tech our way through it if not. No. So wacky things are happening, and it's all because of sound effects. So this happens sometimes. We're still working on the music engine. Let's take a look at where... First, let's try commenting that out and see if that fixes the problem. It did. So that sound, for some reason, it doesn't like it all. And there could be a bunch of reasons for it. It didn't like it when it was coin. It didn't like it was an ouch. My guess is that something is happening with the sounds themselves, which sucks, but it is what it is. Let's just try real quick and doing a jump sound effect. So for jump, let's change it to jump. And let's change get coin to coin. Okay. Let's play a sound when you jump. So that would be a really easy thing to do. Here, if I jump, I'm going to play sound. And the sound I'm going to play is SFX jump. I believe that's what I called it. Let me check. If I go to sound effects, oops, if I go to sound effects, SFX player jump. So that's the name of it right there. I can actually copy this if I need to. In my jump, I'm going to play sound effects player jump. Let's try that. There we go. So jump is working fine. All right. So, and we want music to start over again on this screen. And what's happening is right now, I'll try and fix this before I give it to you. Usually when it starts a new screen, if it sees the same song, it doesn't start the song over again. But we want to make sure that if it's coming from, if it's sort of a quote unquote start over, it does start a new song. It doesn't stop the music. So, so jumping is happening. Let's add a sound effect for coin. Let's see. So I'm going to copy that. Some of this stuff is going to exist in your codes because I'm changing it before I'm bundling this up for you. So coins should be if I pick up the shrub, for instance. It launches power up, it adds the score, and plays sound effect. And it's not going to play player jump, it's going to play coin. Let's see if there's anything wrong with the coin sound effect. Oops. Again, do we have a out of range, branch out of range, unknown label, play sound? I named it wrong. So let's take a look real quick. What was it called? Get coin, not just coin. So I can copy that. Go back to my script. Get coin. There we go. So it seems like there's some spots where sound effects are just acting kind of funny, but for the most part, everything's working the way that we'd expect. What's happening, I guess, is the music is stopping there and not restarting when the game loads up. So I'll try and fix that code so that won't even be an issue for you guys. Again, I know exactly what causes it and something I meant to fix but just forgot. So lastly, with this tutorial, we've seen how to add some sound effects, even though some of them are giving us a little bit of trouble. We've seen how to add basic platforming, some monsters, some cool ideas with AI, some interactive backgrounds, checkpoint system. Let's add a start screen. So we are going to go to special screens, start screen. I'm going to actually go to CHR viewer. I'm going to load a CHR, and this should be in beta assets, start screen files, platformula, the CHR file. And so there's not much to this one. Somehow I don't think it's all here. Is that really all? What about the name of it? Well, I don't know. Okay. I'm going to export this. And I'm going to put it in my graphic assets folder, platformula, and I'm going to save it over start screen. And then I'm going to bring in, let's make that black so I can see, and I'm going to import the name table file from beta assets, start screens, and platformula. There it is. So let's make this some appropriate colors. No idea what colors this is supposed to be. Pink. Austin would kill me because I'm just adding things, but trying to do this fast, so I apologize. Austin, there you go. So this is platformula. Yay. And I'm going to uncheck skip start screen, export and test. Now, nothing happens when I hit start. I have to pull in some start screen script. So I go to input scripts, user scripts. Let's see, did I put it in the input scripts for this one? Start game. Good. So start game just sets it to change of state, turns the sprites on, and input editor. When I'm on the start screen and I press start, not the main game now, but the start screen, I'm going to run start game script, export and test. And now we have nice little platformer. One-way platforms, sound effects, special blocks, AI, some producer AI, which that should hopefully give some of you guys some great ideas. These cool pull-up things and checkpoint systems, and so there's a lot here. A score system, so a lot here to see and play with, and yeah. So that's it really for the wedNESday platform game tutorial. Obviously, there's so much more you can do with this platform game. For those of you who followed that and did the adventure game tutorial, you're going to know, oh, and you know what I can do? I can add the warp to, and I can go to different places. I can make sort of a Metroidvania type game and whatever. And you could get into the scripts and you could change what happens when you get to the bottom and top bounds. And instead of it stopping you at the top and killing you at the bottom. You can have it take you to the next map screen, and then all of a sudden it's Metroidvania instead of Mario, and make it so you don't jump on the players, but instead now you shoot at the players, and all of a sudden you have Mega Man instead of Mario. So there's a lot of places that you can take this if you are starting to understand what's happening between the adventure game that we just did last week and the platform game engine that you did this week. So, I really hope that some of the information is starting to click, and you're starting to be able to synthesize it and starting to think, oh, if I take this idea from this and this idea from this, I can put them together and I can get a game that is my own. Again, you are not making your opus right now. All we're doing is learning the tool while we're tweaking a lot of the bugs, and you're figuring out how things work, and we're seeing how you work and how you break things. This is a great learning time for you, a great learning time for us. But yeah, I'd love to see you guys platform games for next week. So thanks for checking out this wedNESday platform game tutorial. You guys are awesome, and I'll catch you next Wednesday.